Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rumors versus Facts. My name is Rodney DeBolsey. I'm joined by Jed May. We're going to talk a little bit about the Georgia-Auburn game and a little bit about the upcoming Ole Miss game. Jed, right off the bat, let me get your thoughts about how you were there for the Auburn game. I was in Athens with Coach Donna doing the watch-along. And give me your kind of overall thoughts on this game, because I've just seen our numbers go crazy, whether it be the fumble, the timeout, the god-awful offense and defense, got off a start Georgia got off to, and the dominant second half they had. I mean, there's a bajillion storylines. You guys stayed up very late writing about this. You wrote about it again on Sunday. This morning you had a piece as well. So let me kind of get your overall thoughts on this Georgia-Auburn game before we start going ahead.
I think my overall thoughts just that it was weird. I think the Tennessee game was crazy, and this one was weird. If that makes any sense, like between the fumble, all the reviews, all the penalties, the timeout thing, Georgia basically becoming an entirely different team out of halftime, Auburn turtling up after the fumble. Like it was just weird. And it was even after all the stuff that happened, we all looked around at each other at halftime and we're like, this is a 7-point game and Georgia gets the ball first out of halftime. Like they go score, this is a tie game. That's not how it played out. But again, it was a game Georgia was very much in. And even as, once they tied it, once they went up by 3, you still kind of thought, like, yeah, Georgia's going to win this. It was weird. It was very strange. And I think, again, this shows what the ceiling is. I mean, the defense looked like as good as any Georgia defense has been in the second half. The offense has shown they can kind of beat you they can beat you running it. They can beat you throwing it. And against Auburn, they didn't really do either, like super well. and they still won. So I think there are reasons to be optimistic. It's just a matter of, can this team play at that level for 3 consecutive quarters, even, let alone 4. So, I don't think you can ever, if you're a Georgia fan, you can never complain about a 10-point road win at a place that, as Nick Saban said on game day, is haunted, and he would know better than anybody. But it's strange. But at the end of the day, a win is a win, and it's a win by double digits. That's, if you told Kirby Smart he's going to win by 10 at noon on Saturday morning, he'd have taken it for sure.
Oh yeah, and I will tell our readers this, or our viewers. Kirby can say whatever he wants, but I know for a fact that when he talks to big donors, he's like, we have issues on defense, and he's very frank about his talent level. He says, we got to get better. We try to pin him down. What do you need to work on, Kirby? He goes, everything. And a lot of times it feels like he's ducking, it's just, here's a generic coach speak answer to a question, because he doesn't want to give any kind of talking points or anything for the opposition to focus on. But if you go back to that game, yeah, you need to focus on just about everything. This is a team that Auburn didn't convert a third down against, was Texas A&M, whoever they played recently. They've given up 21 sacks. Nobody else in the SEC was even close to that. Georgia couldn't get to Jackson Arnold. This is a team that couldn't convert third downs. They were converting them all over the place. Yeah, and the goal was to get Auburn in third and long. Third and long was no problem for them. Hell, 1st and 17 was no problem for them. So they just went down the field, and this shows it. When people were asking me all last week, why are you so pessimistic? It's just Auburn. They've lost their last 2 games. I'm like, yes, they've lost their last 2 games on the road against top 10 teams. And they played them both very close. And now they're kind of due. They're going back home, and they've got a good quarterback, and Georgia makes every offense in the first half look amazing. And for 29 minutes, Georgia got their teeth kicked in offensively and defensively. So this is a very, very flawed football team. But that other kind of coaching cliche that Kirby's been hammered on since spring, talking about the fire, passion, energy, just feels like some sort of mantra. And you're like, well, does the fire, passion, and energy give you a first down? Does it convert a third down for you? Does it make a wide open catch? No. But the way they came back at Tennessee, the way they fought to the last minute against Alabama, you saw them, you saw that on display when the ball gets punched out and they drive the field. It would have been very easy for Auburn to stop them. Just a minute left in the game. Your opponent has the ball on the 1-inch line.
Mm-hmm.
They got to go 99 and 0.9 yards to get a touchdown. And Georgia's able to fire it up the middle to give themselves a little bit of breathing room. And then McCray tears off 16 yards. Then Auburn starts melting down. Auburn wouldn't score again. And they would rack up penalties left and right, and Georgia played much better. So it's I'm with you. It's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type situation, but I just wonder what could you do if you had a healthy offensive line, a defensive line that could get a little bit of pressure on the quarterback, maybe some interior pressure, and guys that could cover. It's they played so much better in the second. It looked like two different teams, and I was just kind of stunned by the turnaround. And I think it does come from his, I don't even call it psychoanalysis, but his desire to find guys who just want to go. And you saw Colby Young get it, and he starts firing through people and just attack after attack to Zachariah Branch, to the point that if you're in the Auburn secondary, you're like, God, I'm just getting tired of running this guy down. Not deep passes, but you still have to catch him. And I just thought that the adjustments they made and the not just play calling, but the players themselves, it's almost like they turned a switch. Am I wrong?
No, and I think I think where both programs are can be seen in how they responded to that fumble. Like, I hate going back to it, but that's the play that changed it. Georgia, even just let's just go to halftime. Okay. Georgia drives down the field, kicks a field goal with the help of some penalties, and whatever. You go into halftime, and if you're Auburn, you've got to think they had an opportunity to be like, okay, that end of the half sucked. It was weird. How many times have we seen Georgia have end of the halves that are not very good over the past couple of years for one reason or another? Auburn's got an opportunity to go into the locker room and say, okay, those last 2 minutes didn't go the way we wanted to. We might have got screwed on this call, but we're still up 10-3 against a ranked team at home. Crowd's going crazy. We dominated that game for 28 minutes. Let's go out and finish in the second half. And they didn't do that. They crumbled. And Georgia rallied. Again, if you're Georgia, you're saying, okay, lucky us. We got a field goal on a questionable call and got helped out by some penalties. We're down 7 and hadn't played very well on both sides of the ball. And Georgia, I mean, I don't want to use the cliche locked in, but they rallied. And again, that first drive of the second half didn't go. I can't remember exactly how it short circuited, but they punted. And then everything after that was just a tidal wave. Auburn didn't move the ball. Georgia goes, I think, touchdown, field goal, missed field goal, touchdown. Maybe I don't have the drive thing in front of me, but that shows where these teams are at. And Georgia, as Kirby Smart has said, it's not a veteran thing because this is an extremely young team. That's just kind of the culture, the mentality, whatever you want to call it, that has been instilled at Georgia. And Hugh Freeze said after the game, this team is finding ways to lose right now. And I think that's kind of a difference in where Georgia is and where a program like Auburn, or you could even extrapolate that to Florida if you wanted to. You could, where A&M has been in the past. That's where Georgia is right now. They find ways to win, and they are able to brush off some serious adversity and play better. Now, the question is, why are they getting in that adversity in the first place? Why do they play like they've never seen a jet sweep for 2 quarters of football, and then they play so much better after halftime? But seeing the potential to play that well is, one, it's frustrating, but also it shows, okay, this is what this team's capable of. I guess it's better to see that at least on an inconsistent basis than just say, okay, the ceiling of this team is not very high. The ceiling is pretty high. We've seen. It's just a matter of doing it consistently, which there's still half the regular season left, an opportunity to get there.
No, I'm with you. A win is a win, especially in this series. I was there for the Trey Matthews, Josh Harvey Clemens, Prayer, and Jordan Hare. I've been there for many times when they've destroyed Georgia's chances to win an SEC championship, much less a a national championship, there's no team that has ruined Georgia's season more than Auburn. A lot of times it's one of the last SEC games you'll play, and it's always a lot riding on the line, and vice versa. Georgia's taken Auburn out of it. So it is an absolute heated rivalry. Those guys played really hard, and we did see a lot to be excited about. You're right. At one point, when they brought Elias Williams in, the true freshman tight end, he lined up in the slot, and you had, I'm pretty sure it was Dontrell Glover, Juan Gaston, and Elias Williams side by side, or at least all on the same side of the field. That's 3 true freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
Elias Williams misses on the pass that goes to him, but he'll make that catch. Just and we've seen him make those catches. The guy has fantastic hands for a tight end. When he came in, I think if this guy doesn't gain weight, I hope they use him as a wide receiver. He's such a mismatch and has such good hands. You just throw to him. But the Bo Hughley experiment really didn't work out so much. But then Monroe Freeling comes in, and Kirby Smart says, guts, grit. This is a guy who came in with a bad ankle. Kirby on Wednesday or Thursday said, look, I don't even think we're going to take him. Mm-hmm. And apparently he texted the coach, like, I'm going and I'm going to play. He didn't get the start, but actually wins SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week. And when you give Gunner Stockton, remember, this is start 7 for Gunner? He's 5-2.
Sugar Boy,
yeah, so it's not like he's this salty dog quarterback that's been around forever. He's been at Georgia a while, but this is a new year for him. So Ellis Robinson, we got to talk to him today. His first year starting. Same with Quintavious Johnson. Same with Gabe Harris. Same with Kyron Jones. There's a lot of trying to think of Jordan Hall. Feels like Jordan Hall's been here 10 years, but this is his first year. So there's a lot of new faces out there. And even though there were so many mistakes in that first half, after that fumble, they started, like you said, those drives were huge and could have been even worse. So I really like what we saw from Monroe Freeling. I think that I know I've been probably the hardest of anybody I've seen on Georgia's tackles, especially when Gunner's running for his life. But if those guys come in healthy, and Juan Gaston played, he was hurt. Micah Morris is hanging on by a string. They've all been beat all to hell. When Georgia's healthy on offense, I think it can be a juggernaut on offense. Still worried about the defense, but give me your thoughts on Freeling and the new guys and the positive stuff. Because I'm told to stop whining because Georgia's fine.
Freeling is funny because when Georgia comes out of the tunnel for warmups and they break off into position groups, we're all looking and seeing what the offensive line looks like. And the first team offensive line had Hughley and Gaston at tackles. The second team had, Jackson and whoever. There was Georgia brought 13 offensive linemen. There were 2 groups of 5 that went. The third group was Monroe Freeling, Ernest Green, and then Henry Piegler, a third string walk-on center that tripped. So you see that, and I saw it, and I was like, okay, they're here, but they're not playing. I tweeted that they're not playing. Or not, yeah. I said that makes me think they're not playing.
Right, yeah. You warm up with the third string. That's
not a good sign. Exactly. So then Freeling comes in, and you're like, oh, and I didn't realize he played pretty much the rest of the game. And you see him, the Josh McCray run from the goal line. He takes Keldrick Falk, who's a guy that a lot of people think is going to be a
first round
pick, and moves him, probably 5 or 10 yards down the field, and creates that lane for Josh McCray to bounce it out. He had it was a 3rd and 8 or so to Zach Branch, and Georgia throws that quick screen out. He literally lays out and dives and gets barely enough of a guy to help spring it. You talk about a guy. It's probably not going to, because that's just isn't how things usually go for linemen. But that is a performance that should go down in lore of this series, because that is a guy who and he didn't have a perfect game. He missed the tight end screen to Oscar Delp. He didn't get out there in time.
See, that was the one that's played in my mind over and over again. I'm like, God, Georgia's tackles are terrible.
Right.
Even Monroe Freeling whiffed on a wide open one because it's obvious out there when he has to run 30 yards and dive at a cornerback or something, and he misses
to gut it out like that is against a defensive front that's really good.
Yeah.
Keldrick Falk, chief among them, is very, 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 very impressive.
Yeah, and again, in a league full of very talented offensive linemen, for you to come in on one leg and not start, rep with the third team, get out there, and they, Bo started in his place, and Bo was just getting beat. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean to the kid. He'll tell you he didn't have a good game. They moved him to the other side to spell Juan Gaston. They attacked that side and got past him. They were running some stuff to take advantage of him. But when Juan got back in, and Monroe Freeling, again, playing injured, and Micah Morris, Georgia's able to run the ball. Mm-hmm. And this was the number 6 team in the SEC in giving up, having the most stout run defense, and Georgia's able to break off some big runs there. I know people weren't really excited about a lot of the screen passes, but they were incredibly effective against the zone coverage. So like, okay, you're playing zone, we'll throw underneath you. And eventually if you get it to Cash Jones out there, you saw him make some big plays, but the 9 different passes to Zachariah Branch, I will take my chances. Mm-hmm. Zachariah Branch starting either at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage, needing just 1 block or 2 blocks, depending on what type of screen it is. I'll take that every day. Again, I know it's not exciting, but he is a phenomenal player, and he's hard to bring down. And there are a couple times that he came within a gnat's whisker of taking it to the house, and I'm like, okay. And eventually, it's just like the inside zone runs. And then the third quarter, when Georgia started running, you saw the handoffs that Gunner was doing. Turns around, hands it, inside zone runs, and they just started hitting. And it was what I wrote in my column Friday. The best thing Georgia could do would be some nice ball control runs. I knew the defense has major issues, but if Jackson Arnold and those, and Cam and Singleton are on the sideline, they can't do anything to you. And Georgia had a couple of long drives there. I think weren't you the one that pointed out Auburn had 40 yards in the second half. Mm-hmm. 25 were on the last drive when the game decided. They're down by 2 scores. So 15 yards. And a lot of that is all the credit to the defense and some, a huge sack and, some tackles for loss. But the fact that they weren't on the field, they did the exact same thing to Auburn that Auburn did to Georgia in the first half. Georgia, that first drive took almost 8 minutes off the clock. I think Georgia got 6 plays in the entire first quarter, if that.
And I think it was 3. I think Auburn's second drive ended right at the beginning of the second quarter. And all that, and Georgia wins the time of possession battle in that game by less than a minute, but still. And it's when I was rewatching the game yesterday, it was amazing because everybody's watching. They show all the random stat graphics on ESPN, and it's like time of possession 18 minutes to 3, like total yards 240 to 20, third down conversions the 7 of 10 and 0 for 3. Like, there's no way Georgia should have been in that game, let alone end up winning it. And again, that is that fumble. Georgia could. How many times have we seen in the NFL a team just get mauled by a tush push into the end zone? And credit to CJ Allen and Raylan Wilson for saying, "Hey, we've got an opportunity to make a play here." Now, again, that was an inch away from being a touchdown, but they got to it just in time. I think after watching it, I'm sure not that our opinion is needed on all the social media discourse, but I think it was a fumble. I think Allen jostles it just before it crosses the goal line, and then Raylan Wilson's is the one that sends it flying. But I don't know. It's just it's that close. Like the game of inches thing that the cliche everybody says. That's what they're talking about. If Auburn scores, it's 17-0. Even if Georgia gets a field goal, it's still a 14-point game at halftime. And then it turns into and again, Auburn had every opportunity to stop Georgia there and still take a 10-point lead at halftime, and they didn't. So credit to the offense for that. Absolutely.
So people that were arguing about it, I'm like, it was about that close.
Mm-hmm.
Then I thought, no, it's about that close. Then I thought, no, it's about that close.
Mm-hmm.
And the ball, if you watch it, people like to show, I don't know what ESPN filmed it with or ABC. It looked like they filmed that goal line stance with a potato. I mean, it's just like old, the first digital cameras that came out, just pixelated as hell. I'm like, where's the overhead cam? The one that looks straight down. Mm-hmm. Get that in there. This is your big game of the night. You've got the capability of putting one of those wire things in there. Get a better sideline cam. But I want to go back to what you said. After that, how did they handle it? Hugh Freeze comes off the goes to the sideline. Did you guys get to hear what he said in the press box?
We didn't in the press box, but when I watched it last night, I did. Yeah, and it's again,
he was defeated at halftime.
That's what I'm talking about.
Somebody told him his dog died.
Like you can't help but think that sort of, and I don't want to he's a guy that's won a lot and at places he's been and he's a good coach or he wouldn't have the job he has. But it's hard not to feel like that kind of feeling or attitude doesn't permeate in the locker room at halftime, right? Like it's hard to imagine that it doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's hard to imagine Auburn's not still stuck on that coming out of the locker room because that's what they played like. Exactly. It is. That's Georgia didn't and Auburn did. And if it goes the other way, if it's 17-0, does Kirby whine and cry about it and get stuck on it? Maybe. I don't know. But I think that's why Georgia won that game, I think, is because they're the one that got the break, but they also moved on from it and played well in the second half. And it feels like Auburn got stuck on it and the call. Listen, the last couple minutes turned into a ref show. I mean, let's be honest. It was. I think the calls themselves. I think most of them were probably the right call, but it was just a total cluster blank for the last couple minutes of that half. But Auburn could have moved on, and they didn't. I think Georgia moved on, and Auburn got stuck on it for the rest of the.
I agree. That was the 28th minute. You still had in the second half. You could have stopped them. I mean, with that defense, you get a team on the 1-inch line. Hell yeah! And they discombobulate there. They go into halftime. Kirby had his team down. What was the Alabama score going into halftime?
Oh Lord,
28-7. Because I remember it was like 28-0, right?
Yeah, it was 28-0, maybe 28-7 or 28-10. I don't remember, to be honest.
But that's my point is they came back last year on the road after getting the absolute dog crap kicked out of them for the entire first quarter, and they took the lead in that game.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a team. I'm just saying that when they were down and it felt like nothing was going right, Hugh Freeze is whining. These things will go our way one damn time, Mm-hmm. And Kirby's in there going, okay, when we send a zone blitz, they're doing a tight end leak into area B, and we gotta drop somebody back. We can't do that again. So let's stop doing that. Hey, we're getting killed on the edges here. They are attacking our perimeter. They're, like you said, the jet sweeps like Georgia had never seen them before. That first one to Singleton right around the edge. I'm like, oh, okay. They were attacking the perimeter. Georgia had zero edge support or setting the edge, and then they start changing the formation of where they're putting their edge guys, and all of a sudden it's a little bit different, so it's like they get back into it. The offense starts blocking. You start getting, it's like, okay, let's run a nice little trick play here, the Dylan Bell play that we'd seen 2 weeks ago, and we said one of these days Dylan Bell's going to throw it. There was a little different variation on that, but he comes around and he had a wide open Zachariah Branch. He misses it. And I'm just saying that top down, like the mentality was there, and this team believes in itself. And they're young and they make mistakes and they make some god awful mistakes. But I'm with you. You said to start the season, this team will grow up. I don't know that we're going to see that much growing up on the defense because I just feel like Georgia's edge guys and interior guys can't get to the quarterback, and the secondary can't cover that long. I mean, the first 3 penalties on Georgia were 3 pass interference calls, 2 on the defense, 1 on the offense. So with Trinidad Chambliss coming in, I'm like, and knowing you're going to see some really good quarterbacks going forward, especially ones that can run, I'm like, this is going to be tough for the defense, but this offense is just getting better. Finally got to see Noah Thomas. Mm-hmm. This is a guy who had 125 yards, 145 yards, something like that against Auburn last year with 2 touchdowns on 5 catches. So, yeah, it was 5 catches, 125 yards. So basically 25 yards a catch. 2 of those were TDs. He had 1 catch against Auburn. It was 30. So his average didn't drop. This guy's averaging 30 yards or 25 to 30 yards a catch against them. And I know a lot of people say, well, where was he all year? Against Kentucky, he played 30 snaps. So he's out there a lot. And he would have had another pass completion, but there was a pass interference. So he basically got you 15 yards. So I'm kind of liking how the skill position is rolling out there. Nate Frazier ran well. Josh McCray ran well. I like that they brought in Cash Jones, not just on 3rd down. Because of the way the defense was playing, they're like, look, they're loading up. You bring in Cash Jones, and all of a sudden now you have a threat to catch the ball. The Auburn defense has to change. They didn't have a change for it. They did not have a good package for that. And Georgia was able to rip them offensively. And again, you played poorly in the first half, but then you went and scored 20 unanswered. That's phenomenal for the hole that you put yourself into. But can you survive like that?
I think that's the thing is like I said home the other day, even if this team played 3 consecutive quarters, that would be a start. Like it seems like 2 is kind of maxed out at the moment. But like I said earlier, the potential is there. We've seen how high of a level the defense can play at. We've seen how high of I mean, you look at what that offense did against Auburn. Like I said earlier, it doesn't really feel like they ran the ball well, and it doesn't really feel like they threw the ball that well. And they scored 20 points on a defense that's really good, one of the better defenses they're going to see all year. So the offense has kind of proven they can do whatever it takes to win. And even the other day, Elias Williams has a fade ball down the sideline go off his fingertips. Colby Young, the 4th and 6 that Georgia went for, that's a jump ball I think he would tell you he should come down with.
Yeah. Oh, he jumped way too early. Yeah.
So there's meat left on the bone, and it doesn't do you any good if you leave it on the bone. But plays are there to be made that were good throws from Gunnar Stockton. And he had some passes the other day, rewatching the game, that like fade type passes down the sideline that were terrible, that were way out of bounds. And that is pretty uncharacteristic for him. So I don't know what was up with that, but I don't think he will have a performance that bad in that regard. Again, he's done a good job of giving his guys chances on those balls down the sideline. So I think the offense is still getting better. The pass protection, considering you're playing 2 true freshmen and Bo Hughley and an injured Monroe Freeling in a place like Auburn that's ridiculously loud, they held up pretty well, I would say.
How many illegal procedure penalties did they have?
I don't think they had one. I thought the same
thing.
I don't
have in Tennessee?
I know they didn't have any in that one, and that's huge.
And you're taking guys in and out constantly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna defend the Fat Boys. Hey, you actually. I think the last time you had a legal procedure penalty was on a wide receiver. Like, dude,
I think if you told Kirby Smart you'll have started 6 different offensive line combinations. You've had 2 true freshmen play a ton. Monroe Freeling's been banged up. Juan Gaston is a true freshman and been hurt. Like, he would absolutely take how this offensive. I mean,
and Juan's playing 2 different positions in 6 games. He's played the guard and tackle. This is only his 2nd game at tackle.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a stretch to say this line through 6 games has played better than last year's, at least as good. And last year you had guys collected AARP checks on the line
Yeah.
that had been at Athens so long. So
Dude, 2 of them are starting in the NFL.
yeah, I mean, you take that absolutely. So, and they should only get better as they get more experience and get healthy. The bye week, I think, is going to be very interesting to see these guys get healthier, and also does Ernest Green get to a point where he can play at least to a point where he's giving guys a break on the sideline every now and then. So, but yeah, it is another good showing, I think, for an offensive line against, like we've said a few times, a really, 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 really good defensive front, especially for Auburn.
Yeah, two guys on that line that are absolutely going to get drafted. I think we wouldn't need to address the elephant in the room. We asked Kirby, or somebody in the media today asked Kirby Smart about his timeout call and his clapping call. I've been over this. Well, I'll put it this way. I decided that I would die on the 4th and 1 call against Alabama was a good call, hill. I'm going to stand on that hill. I'm going to die on that hill thinking it was a good call because you caught Alabama out of sorts and you just had your 2 freshmen on the right side missed one of the easiest blocks in all of football, and Cash Jones gets knocked down. Going to die on that hill thinking it was a good idea. Plus the fact that, if you tie the game there, they, when you get the ball back, you had a chance to go down and score some more points, and you couldn't get past midfield. So it's not like you were loading it up. So I'm like, go for the win, which they should have. I'm not going to die on the hill that Kirby Smart did not call a timeout, but I am going to say it doesn't freaking matter. So to me, whether or not Kirby Smart was pointing out the clapping, and there was clapping, and he's making the timeout sign. I think Georgia should have been charged for a timeout because Kirby was making the timeout thing. To me, the refs messed it up twice. 1, either call the clapping, delay a game on the defense, or 2, say, Kirby, we saw you. We stopped the ball because you were motioning for timeout. And that doesn't matter what you're saying, or you called timeout to yell at us. You made the timeout signal. And in a super loud stadium, they don't have to hear him say timeout. They can see him signaling it, and they'll call it. I guarantee you, if the ball had been snapped or we'd been called for delay a game, we'd seen a delay a game thing there, Kirby Smart would have been saying, look, I was doing this the whole time. There's a video of me doing it, and it would have been different. But then Georgia goes for a field goal. They miss it. Auburn gets the ball back. So I don't know why it's such a big deal. To me, if you want to argue about something, you look at the 47 different versions of the fumble. But as you pointed out, there's still 31 minutes left in the game. And you're up by 7. You're leading there. The fumble didn't cause you to not score again for the rest of the night, but the timeout / clapping thing resulted in Georgia. I mean, they turned it over on downs practically. You missed a field goal. So, or is there something else that happened in that series that I'm missing? Georgia didn't even use that last timeout. So,
well, that was the Cash Jones blindside block. That was the next play. Like that was a 3rd down timeout, whatever. And then Gunnar Stockton, it's Colby Young down to the 1, and they call Cash Jones for that blindside block. So, yeah, I think both teams kind of have a reason to feel wronged there. I think, again, it looks like Kirby's calling timeout with his hands. I have kind of had the thought, we've all watched Kirby on the sidelines in the past. Like, he's a guy who makes all kind of gestures and then is doing all kind of – I don't know if he knew that's what he was doing or if he just thinks he's – I don't know. I can't say. I'm obviously not inside his mind. But like you said, it doesn't matter. The referees should have, 1, called the clapping, or 2, called the timeout. And the thing with the clapping is if they didn't see it, then they would be relying on taking the word of a coach that it was happening, which you can't.
Good point.
Because coaches are lobbying you for stuff all the time. So I don't know what else you're supposed to do other than to say, yeah, Kirby, you might not have been calling a timeout, but that's what we saw, and this is what happened. But again, Georgia,
that's why I stopped. That's why I blew my whistle and stopped the play
Right.
It was because you were signaling timeout.
It would be an unfortunate thing if you're Kirby Smart,
Yeah.
because if you weren't calling a timeout, but
actually wouldn't have been, because he wasn't going to get the playoff.
See, that's another thing, because he said, "Oh yeah, well, why would I have been calling a timeout?" I was like,
That's
"Are
a
you
second lie."
sure about that?" Because it would have been very close at minimum. But
Well,
again,
here's the thing: if they had snapped it with 1 second left, I'm pretty sure if you go back and look at the film, you'll see a guy moving. It would have been a legal procedure call. I don't think they were set.
It's just, remember what I said earlier. This game was just weird. Like it's so weird. It's so weird because like the Cash Jones thing. I mean, it's closer to an offensive pass interference, or honestly, I don't think it was. You could have looked at that for targeting because he kind of hits the Auburn guy kind of high if you wanted to. It's more of those two things than a blindside block, because they're running at each other. Like the guy saw him. How could it be a blindside block if they were running at each other?
The only thing I can think of is maybe the guy's eyes are locked on Gunner, and he doesn't see a guy.
Maybe
not 90 degrees to his left, but 45 degrees. I mean, they're like, "Oh, well, I was looking at his eyes, and he never saw it coming." But again, that's on him. You got to have your head on a swivel.
I had kind of thought, to be a blindside block, the offensive player had to be going back toward the line of scrimmage. Like the defensive guy is running upfield, and the offensive, like pretty much a receiver, is coming back toward the line of scrimmage and just decleats the guy. That's what maybe that's wrong. I don't know what the rule is. I don't have a rule book on my desk here, but again, just weird. But like you said, it doesn't end up mattering. Georgia gets the break there. Auburn gets the break on the Cash Jones penalty, and then Peyton Woodring misses a 51-yard or whatever field goal, and Auburn gets the ball back. There's 12, 13 minutes left, and you're down 3, and they've got a pretty good kicker, and all you got to do is string a few first downs together, and you're in position to try a long field goal and tie the game. But they go 3-0, and Georgia gets the ball back and runs 8.5 minutes off the clock, scores a touchdown, the game's over. So Auburn definitely had its chances. I get why Auburn fans would be frustrated with the officials, because again, it was a disaster on all sides.
Well, the SEC had to apologize to them 2 games ago.
They did a very poor job of whatever you call it, managing the game, controlling the game, whatever. But refereeing is not the reason Auburn lost that game. They had plenty of chances. You think back to the Alabama-Oklahoma game last year, and Alabama's trying to make a comeback, and they had that 4th down play where a guy was called to be on the line of scrimmage and he wasn't, or whatever it was, and it wipes what would have been a game-tying touchdown off the board, or I don't remember exactly, but it was a pivotal play, and that was in the 4th quarter, I think. And then you're like, okay, Alabama kind of got jobbed there. Auburn still had the lead after the fumble thing. You had every opportunity to say, okay, that sucks. We're going to put it behind us and keep doing what we've been doing, frankly, and keep dominating this game. And they weren't able to do that. And Georgia took advantage. Credit to Georgia for taking advantage of a team that did not play near as well in the second half as it did in the first.
You heard someone in the press box basically predict that Auburn was going to melt down.
Yeah, a diehard Auburn fan sitting behind me and Dash that worked his way into a credential. Yeah, and you could. That's what I'm saying. Like you
that was subtle. That was subtle.
You could feel it happening, and that crowd was so. I love covering games at Auburn because it's such a great atmosphere every time. At least every time I've been there, it's an awesome atmosphere. It never fails, and I love covering games there. And it's Cam Newton night. It's a night game. It's all this stuff. In the second half, you could just feel it. Like people were leaving while Georgia still had the ball on that last drive. Like with 2 minutes left, people were leaving. And I was like, if Georgia doesn't pick this up, Kirby's going to kick a field goal. And you've got the ball back down 6 with almost 2 minutes left. That's an eternity in college football. And you've got really good receivers against DBs that have struggled. You're a touchdown away from winning this. And people just did not have the faith that Auburn's offense could do it, and it proved
I mean,
to be.
a diehard fan knew at that point. It's like, oh, we're broken.
Yeah, I mean, you could just it was just a weird feeling because that whole the vibes of the game, I don't think ever really matched what the scoreboard was. Like it felt like Georgia was losing a lot worse than they were. It felt like Georgia was winning by more in the second half and the fourth quarter. It just that's a game that could only happen at Auburn. Like a game that weird could not happen at Mississippi State, could not happen at LSU, could not happen at South Carolina. It could only happen at Auburn. And I don't mean that as a bad thing because college football is weird. The weirder it is, the better it is. But
I'm with you.
That's a game that could only take place in the loveliest village on the plains.
Yeah. I'm sorry that Cam Newton didn't have his the night that he wanted. We got a good question here from Al Lewis. He said Kirby said they didn't rep against what Auburn brought in the first half. Why? You knew Auburn had 2 weeks to prepare. Al, they put in new stuff. They put in stuff you hadn't seen before, and you're going to get that a lot because a lot of teams circle Georgia. Just like Georgia put in the plays, they had certain plays for Alabama, stuff that they did previous to set up to try to catch Alabama out of position. They ran some new things against Alabama they hadn't run before. You get the same thing when you face a Georgia team. Other schools, especially that have an extra week, they're like, okay, we haven't run this before, or we haven't run that this year. It's in our arsenal. Let's work on it. Let's put in something new. And that's exactly what they did in the first half. They Kirby mentioned it. Some of the players mentioned it on defense today. Ellis Robinson mentioned it. Said, look, they did some unique things that we hadn't seen before, and that's effective. Now, once you've seen it, you can get back over to the sideline and go, hey, this is what we need to do to adjust for it. But the damage is done. It's already an 18-yard gain. It's a 27-yard gain. It's a 39-yard gain. So but again, that stops, and you have to have a team that's amenable to do that. And that's why Kirby's always like, I need players who are coachable. I've seen players who are not coachable. You couldn't tell them something new during the game. It would just discombobulate them or get them out of their comfort zone, and that was a problem. But give Hugh Freeze some credit for putting in some stuff and attacking Glenn Schumann in a way that they weren't ready for. And I guarantee you, Ole Miss is going to do the same thing. They will have some stuff that they have not used all year that they are holding for Georgia. This is a game they really need to win, and Georgia needs it really badly too. I don't think that the loss for Hugh Freeze ends his tenure there. A loss this weekend might, but whichever team loses this weekend between Georgia and Ole Miss, I mean, if Georgia loses, now they got 2 SEC losses. This is a bad spot to be in. If Ole Miss loses, that's huge. It's a really, really big deal. So they're going to come in with I don't think they're as good as they were last year. That's still a really good football team. And Georgia's defense isn't nearly as good as it was last year. And they're going up against a fantastic quarterback and a very good running team. So you're going to need everything. And to that point, Kirby issued a challenge today.
Yeah, he said the fans need to be make it one of the best environments Sanford Stadium's ever seen, and those are he's been known to do that, especially when it's the type of offense that Ole Miss has. Like he did that when Tennessee came a couple years ago and they were number one, and Tennessee's offense has the up tempo and all that stuff. Ole Miss does some similar stuff, and that's the type of offense that a crowd can really affect when they're trying to go fast and they're trying to get all the signals in. They're trying to get guys lined up, and it obviously worked against Tennessee. And you look at Ole Miss's schedule, like and I'm included. I thought they'd been this high flying, dropping 70 points on everybody, and they haven't really. They've kind of been between 20 and 35 against most of the teams they play. They gutted one out against Washington State, which I think if Lane Kiffin was honest, I think they spent a decent amount of time working on Georgia.
He kind of heard that.
Washington State. So, but still, and they played one road game so far, and it was a road game at Kentucky at noon, I believe. So it's going to be two very different in environments, I think, between Kentucky at noon and Athens at 3:30. And that's the type of thing, like I said, that can affect an offense like this. And it'll help Georgia's pass rush, which helps the secondary. Like the crowd can have a huge effect in a game like this against an offense like this specifically. And Kirby Smart challenged him, and he doesn't do that unless he knows that
They can be
it-
effective.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see. Foster's asking about this comment here. I've never heard such an anti-UGA channel that covers UGA. Hey, Coach Eggleston, I mean, I could lie to you and tell you that Georgia, oh boy, they pressure the quarterback. They get sacks by the thousands. They stop teams from converting third downs. They never get called for pass interference. Everything's fantastic. They're going to win the national championship. Or I could tell you the damn truth, which is Georgia is a young team that is reloading on defense. C.J. Allen is playing out of his mind. Raylan Wilson's playing fantastic. But Christian Miller played really well, especially in the second half. But this was a team that could not get off the field, and the offense wasn't clicking in the first half, and they came out and did it. I'm not here to be a cheerleader. I'm here to tell you what's going on. This is called rumors versus facts. If you want facts, watch the show. If you want rumors, go look at all the fan sites. There's a ton of them. You'll see a bunch of Georgia logo stuff in the background. They'll wear Georgia gear. They'll say we and us, and they'll tell you how much they love the dogs. That's what you're looking for. There's other channels for you. But if you want the facts, well, here's a fact you may not have known. Nobody else in the entire media knew that Chauncey Bowens was injured. We did. We told our readers that. And nothing against Nate Frazier and Josh McCray. They had a very good game. But Chauncey Bowens should be healthy. He has a calf issue. We asked Kirby about it today. Kirby said, yeah, he couldn't quite. I mean, the guy had a touchdown. He scored Georgia's first touchdown. He also had a bad pickup on pass protection. So, and again, when you think about it, you're a running back and you have a calf issue,
It's not good.
That's like the worst thing possible. But he's supposed to be healthy. They expect to have him back healthy, and which will be very interesting, Jed, as to who gets the start between those two.
Yeah, and I think if you look at, because I'll be honest, like Patrick had his what's the line story, which everybody looks forward to reading on Sunday, and I was like, okay, I would think Georgia's probably like a 2 or 3 point favorite. Like they get a couple points for being at home. And I saw 6.5. And I was like, they're favored by 6.5.
But
I thought it was
gonna be a big one, basically.
Myself and another reporter brought this up to me today, and I just looked it up for myself. Ole Miss is 96th in the country in rushing defense, giving up 157.6 yards per game.
That is not the defense they had last year.
They've won a lot. They are 113th in the country in yards allowed per carry, 4.78. So if you're Georgia, I think, and stats can lie and all this kind of stuff. And Kirby Smart doesn't look at ESPN.com looking for stats and say, okay, that's what the game plan is. But you look at those numbers, and if you're Georgia, you're thinking, okay, we've been a team that's run the ball pretty well. There could be some opportunities in the run game against a defense that hasn't performed that well against it. And I think one of the most interesting things that we heard Saturday night from Kirby was somebody asked him about the long touchdown drive at the end. And he's like, yeah, I think that's who we are. Like, we want to get explosive plays and this and this, but that kind of offense is who we are. And I thought that was interesting to hear because he's always been a guy that's like, yeah, we need to be more explosive. We need to be this. We need to get plays down the field. And to hear him say pretty much, yeah, this, like, not quite Vince Dooley 3 yards in a cloud of dust, but this methodical wear you down offense is who Georgia is, was very interesting to hear. And I think you could be successful like that. But the play to Noah Thomas is a good example. Georgia lines up in a run look. They go hard play action. They keep an extra guy in to block, and they hit Noah Thomas on a 30-yard crossing route down the field. Like, that's how Georgia's going to get their big plays off the running game, off play action. The play action pass protection, by the way, which has been much better, at least it seems to me, since the first 2 or 3 games of the season. So this offense, I think, is starting to come together and figure out what it is and find its identity. And it's an identity that maybe is a little different than the past couple years Georgia teams have been, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, actually, that's what I wrote under my recipe for success. Long drives. Keep the other offense off the field. Run it. Throw screens. It depends on what if they go man. If anybody wants to play press man coverage against Colby Young, Zachariah Branch, yeah, give it to them. Yeah, please. Well, I love it. Do it. Let's see what happens. And if you want to bracket, okay, that's great. And Georgia's going to run it down your throat. So then you go zone. Okay, zone. Georgia's going to attack underneath. And you had 9 passes to Zachariah Branch. He had 51 yards. He had 57 yards on 9 catches.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly a lot. 51 of those yards came yards after the catch. So you're throwing it to him either on the line or behind the line, and then he's taken off. That's 9 positive plays. I'm not great at math, but that's a little over 5 yards of play. So now every time you do that, at worst, you're looking at 2nd and 5.
And,
or if it's, and then you can run it. Now you're looking at 3rd and 1. My point is, you do that enough, and then you keep running the ball like they have been, and it sets up those long bombs and sets up the downfield attacks. And that is your offense. And it's ball control, it's ball security, and it keeps your defense, which has issues on the sideline, lets them rest, lets them prepare. And it's not, you're right, it's not exciting football, but that's what I said would work. And 8 minutes and 45 seconds on that final drive. Sucked all the life out of that stadium.
That's something I wanted to say earlier, and I forgot because I'm not the smartest person in the world. But everybody, Mike Bobo is the lightning rod, and we all get that. But what do good offensive coordinators do? They get their playmakers the ball in position to make plays. That's what those passes are to Zach Branch. You get Zach Branch the ball with Colby Young blocking for him, Dylan Pell blocking for him, the tight ends blocking for him. That's an effective play. And you can say, oh, when it doesn't work, it's, oh, why is Georgia running a screen on 3rd and 8? But when Zach Branch gets in space and gets a good block and makes a guy miss, then it's a play that can pick up that first down while also not putting the ball in danger. And it's just because it doesn't work doesn't mean it's an awful play call. And to the opposite side of that, in fairness, just because it does work doesn't mean it's a good play call.
Well, remember, if you actually look at the number of screens that Todd Monken called, Georgia's calling 1% more screens. And he had a hell of a lot better players. So,
I mean,
he had first-round draft picks on the offensive line.
You got to get your
will have that sometime, but they don't have it today.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, I'm watching it, and Kirby talks about it being a copycat league and all this stuff. That the first drive of the game, Georgia ran pretty close to exactly the same play Alabama ran to ice the game. They motioned Zach Branch to the left. Gunner fakes that way, spins around to the right, and Nate Frazier is wide open for the easiest 11-yard pass you're ever going to have. And that's a wrinkle. Bobo or a scouting guy, whoever saw it, they put it in, and it's an easy chunk play.
Have back in the fire
and whatever. So I think, again, he's not perfect. Like, I think people look at the Mike Bobo situation, if you want to call it that, as you have to either think he's the worst offensive coordinator in football or he's an offensive wizard, and there's no in between. But there is. It's a spectrum, right? Like, I think he called a pretty good game for the most part. Did he have some bad play calls? Sure, but so does every offensive coordinator. I think, given the offensive line, like, I don't want to say disastrous because they played okay, but situation, it's been pretty good, I would say. So I don't know. I just think he's a lightning rod for so many reasons, and I'm not saying all of it is even unfair, but I think he's done a pretty good job this year given the injuries up front and working in a quarterback getting more and more starting experience.
Yeah. Well, I'll put it this way. That's who Kirby Smart wanted before he hired Todd Monken. He wasn't available. Kirby went against him head-to-head for many years. When Mike was here and Kirby was at Alabama, Mike Bobo gave Kirby Smart fits. That's why he wanted him. Now, has the game passed him by? Is he not creative? Is he too predictable? I'll leave that to others. I'll leave that to the film analysts and the our guys that do film don't lie and stuff like that. But I remember defending James Coley in his year as an offensive coordinator here, and I'm like, look, the dude's lost all his wide receivers. He may be a terrible offensive coordinator, but this is not the year to gauge it when you don't have the passing attack. If all you can do is run it, well, there's nobody that can look good like that. And anyway, I'll be very interested to see what happens, who's healthy on that offensive line and what they can do. I didn't realize that the Ole Miss defense had dropped off that far. And again, they are working more. Everybody when I talk to in the Ole Miss pantheon over there will tell you, yeah, this was a trap game. They're kind of looking ahead to Georgia. Washington State came in. Washington State had lost, given up 59 points, I think, 2 weeks in a row. That was a bad team. And the fact that they were battling them in the third quarter, late third, early fourth. People were tuning in all over the world. Hey, it's Ole Miss going to lose this game? So not exactly a stellar performance, but yeah, they'll bounce back, and they're going to give Georgia everything they can. And I think a nice little ball control running game. I'd like to see a little old-fashioned see some power, some option. I love the option they tossed in last week. That was a great. What's a fourth down call or third down call?
Fourth, I think. 4th and 1. The pitch had a little bit of zip on it.
It's a better pitch. It's a touchdown.
But yeah, and that's a look. I remember they ran it against Marshall, I think, wasn't it? And I remember you were saying Coach Donnan had said, "When's the last time Georgia broke a speed option out?" And they've shown it. And like the reverse to Dylan Bell, at least last week against Kentucky, I'm pretty sure it was an option look at the start of that play, and then you flipped it to Bell going the other way. So that's what you can do with a guy like Gunnar Stockton. It's the design, which we didn't see a ton of the design quarterback run stuff again.
What do you think of Gunnar today in his press conference?
I mean, I'm glad I didn't have to write a story from it because he doesn't say much, but the thing about Gunnar is like he's not a very good interview, and like that's just it is what it is. But like, because I remember even at media days, like I feel like he's a very genuine, like, oh shucks, I just want to go play ball kind of guy. And as someone who covers the recruiting side of things, you see, I feel like less and less of that, and it's refreshing to see. Like we all know about the truck and the cows and like all that's been played to death, but he's just a guy that loves Georgia and wants to do. Like I said the other day, no matter what happens the rest of Gunnar Stockton's career at Georgia, his signature moment is likely going to be. It's going to be two things. It's going to be an incredible dime to London Humphreys to tie the game against Tennessee, and it's going to be doing a Superman dive into the end zone at Auburn on Cam Newton Jersey night. And that play is like it sums up. This is a guy who would die for this team, going all out. He gets chewed out by Kirby Smart for it, and he probably didn't like that very much. But you could do a lot worse than a guy who is doing whatever it takes to get the job done. And is he going to win a national championship? I don't know. Is he going to? He's never going to be a Heisman guy. I don't know if he'll get drafted in the NFL, but he's a guy that is just giving his all for the team he's at right now because he loves Georgia that much. And I think in modern college football, that's a pretty good thing, pretty cool thing to see.
Yeah, Foster asked, do you think Vegas was mad at Gunnar's last TD? I tried to get Gunnar to talk about it today because when he broke out to into the free space there, I'm thinking, okay, here's where he slides.
Yeah.
And they victory formation, make them use up all their timeouts.
They only had one left, I think. That it would have been it. Because I thought the same thing. He gets out, and it's like, yeah, he only needs a couple yards. And I think watching it on replay, it was a good recognition from Gunnar because I think the play was like Colby Young was coming on like a drag. Even with the line of scrimmage, and they're going to flip it to him in the flat, he gets knocked down or pushed down at the line. So the read on the play is dead pretty much. And Gunnar says, screw it, and and goes into the end zone and does the dive. But yeah, just again, an iconic. The guy started 7 games and he's had, I mean, if you want to count 3 iconic plays after getting his lid knocked off against Texas on a quarterback draw.
Yeah.
If you're averaging an iconic Georgia play every other start, that's a pretty good ratio for him, I would say.
Yeah. Tom says defense needed those extra reps. That's very fair, Tom. But they did give up 25 yards more than they'd given up the entire previous
Totally, just
28
totally
minutes. But no, I'm
totally
with you, Tom. They definitely needed the extra reps. So I did think it was kind of funny that the Kirby is like, God, you're supposed to go down there. And I called Coach Donnan a hater. I'm like, what do you got against the kid score? He dives in the end zone. It's like you said, it's iconic play. He's like, look, make them use their timeouts, and then you can always.
And I totally get it.
Somebody else point out, what if they Georgia done that, then they fumbled? I'm like, they're going to run the clock down.
Like, just imagine the feeling if you're a gunner and you've been calling plays in this ridiculously loud crowd all day. It's been a tough game. You dive into the end zone and score the ceiling touchdown. You're so hyped
in front of the Georgia fans.
In front of the Georgia fans, you got Oscar.
Their corner, right?
Superman, yeah. And you hold for the extra point. Everybody's patting you on the head, and you turn around and go back to the sideline. And Kirby Smart is screaming at you, and you're like, "Coach, what?
I'm sorry, I scored a touchdown. I won't do it again."
Yeah, exactly. Like, I get where Kirby Smart's coming from, and then that is the proper play, because I think Auburn had 1 timeout, so they literally would have been able to run the clock out. But the thought of poor Gunner, like, it's been a long game. He's taking some big hits. He got hit like he was a targeting hit. He's had some passes dropped, and he's like, finally, we sealed it. We're gonna do it, and he just gets reamed out on the sideline. That's just. Oh man, that's funny. But no,
situational awareness.
Another game for Gunner. He had some good throws. He kept the ball out of harm's way. He made a couple plays with his legs, and at the end of the day, you won. I asked Dave and Patrick this, and they pointed out the schedule hadn't always been like this. But how many quarterbacks can you think of that have made their first 2 SEC road starts, and you win at Knoxville and at Auburn? Like, that's pretty strong stuff, especially with all the offensive line stuff that's been going on. So credit to Gunner Stockton. He's got to keep getting better, I think, if Georgia wants to get where they want to go, but pretty solid so far.
Yeah. And with that, we will wrap it up. We will have the UJ Sports Live tomorrow at noon with Coach Donnan. I'd love to get his take on it. That game damn near killed him. I mean, it started late. It went really. The first half was 2 hours with all the stoppages and all that stuff. And
the last 2 minutes of the half were brutal. It was brutal, just horrible.
And then there's so many other reviews throughout the game. We went really late, and he was exhausted. So, but he was back up and at it Sunday and Monday. He's got a lot of things he wants to talk about. So be sure to tune in tomorrow at noon, Tuesday noon. I know a lot of you got work, but hey, take your lunch break and join us here on this YouTube channel. Please hit the subscribe button. That would mean a lot to me personally. And we just hit 200,000 followers on Facebook. We appreciate all of you who are following us on our Facebook channel. We didn't buy any followers. We've done that organically. So it means a lot to us that we finally hit 200,000. So thank you very much. And we'll see you guys again. Jed and I will see you next Monday at 7. Y'all take care.